Chapter 20, Sandhya and Mystery of Void, or Discontinuity and Breath. Evolution starts from Bindu or point. The static or potential energy of Bindu is partially gets converted into the kinetic energy during evolution. Thus, the manifestation continues from the unmanifested static Bindu point, since cosmic energy is in seed form in the Bindu, which is in the unmanifested static stateless state. By the unknown reasons, spandau in the Bindu leads to various kinds of intensic throbbing in it, and then part of the Bindu that was static, unmanifested, the manifestation commences in it. Thus, in the dualist pattern of the Bindu, consisting of manifested and unmanifested parts, out of which the unmanifested part gets manifested and turns into manyness. Consequently, the creativity pattern by throbbing emerges or comes out of the dielectric in the series one after the other, and multiplying pattern is continued. The spandau creates close interaction in the Bindu that leads to throbbing, which generates mysterious force that multiplies within the Bindu or point, and thus the manifestation is continued. This is the origin of the cosmos from Bindu by spandau and throbbing. In fact, without the spandau, there cannot be creation, and no creativity is feasible. Cosmic spandau is because of the desire of Almighty. The linkage between various states of the Bindu is through the spandau. It is not the continued process, it is with the discontinuity. Between manifest state, Sadashiv, Shiva, Kameshwara and Shakti, and the unmanifested state, there is gap, void, the kala, the time, the awareness, which always exists. Thus, the triangle is formed with time, manifested and unmanifested states. Without time, no transformation takes place. Spandau is kala, that is the time. The cosmic throbbing is nothing but time, space, and consciousness, which generates the otherness, and thus the Bindu or point continues the multiplication. Initially, unmanifested Bindu, the Ishvara were existed. By his desires, manifestation, Kameshwara or awareness appeared, and under the effect of spandau, the kala, time, the manifestation in manyness continued. Kala or time is the division of absolute, wholeness, oneness into manyness. Desire of absolute is Kam Kala. It is the Mahamaya that created the otherness. Mother of otherness is Kal Mahimani, Nara Hamasi, Lalita, and Chandi, and so on. The initial state of unmanifested, that is, Akal Manimani, is changed partially to Mahamaya, which is Kali. This is created by spandau. Spandau is cosmic dance by Kala or time rhythm that creates manifestation from unmanifested Bindu. Absolute, that is the God, measures everything in time frame, whereas measurement by time is in the material, the anu form, that is the relative knowledge. Time is the evolution. However, in the material plane, it is governed by atom. But time creates material or atom in the absolute terms under the influence of natural conditions. Particular time is basically termed as Sandhya. Time of a day where discontinuity or void takes place is termed as Sandhya. There are 4 Sandhyas in a day. They are Udaya Sandhya, that is morning by 6 a.m., Madhya Sandhya, 12 noon, Swami Sandhya, that is by 6 p.m., and the Turiya Sandhya at 12 o'clock midnight. Basically, the gap when otherness is likely to approach from the existing state is called Sandhya. This otherness is Maya or illusion. As night darkness changes to daylight, the time gap of the dawn is Sandhya. The change to otherness from the original state is Sandhya. It is called discontinuity or void. Similarly, as the earth position with respect to sun changes, the changes of season occur. There are 12 seasons in year with change of 30-degree position of the earth. That completes one complete cycle in 12 months. In the same way, consciousness, that is Chaitanya, has 4 sandhyas, that is Jagrik or conscious state, to Swapna, that is a dream state, to Sushupati, that is deep sleep state, to Turiya, that is the transcendental state, and then to Turyatita, that is the emergent state. In the same way, mind has 4 sandhya, that is mind to buddhi, that is intellect, to chitta, that is consciousness, to ahankara, that is ego. The transit gap between thinking and execution of activities by different sections of the mind is sandhya. The whole world is full of spandau, that is gaps, the discontinuities between the two different states. Between life and death there is a gap, the discontinuity, the void, the spandau, and thus both are the otherness for each other. This spandau, the gap, is called the light. In other words, this light is time, since with time it becomes otherness and changes. The time that leads to change is nothing but the cause of evolution. Thus, the spandau that leads to throbbing is the change of evolution and mother of creativity. Everything of the manifestation is governed by time, and also the unmanifested to the manifested state revolves around time. Time leads to otherness. It is spandau, and when oneness changes to otherness, it is called sandhya. In simple words, it is nothing but discontinuity or void. Catching of sandhya, the time gap of the changes, is the creativity. So, creativity is the change of pattern under the influence of spandau, and it is governed by time. Creativity is the mother of all inventions. Basically, it is the entrance of void, the gap, and the time when the change of states is taking place. The Sandhya is worshipping able Gayatri. It is the direct link with the infinity. It is the light which transforms the otherness with time. The contemplation of this light gives all creative ideas related to the deep secrets of the cosmos, which can be manifested and can make wonderful discoveries. Newton and Einstein could probe into Sandhya or discontinuity, void, and could catch the essence of creative light for the various discoveries of this nature. The triangle of life and death is completed by the appearance of silence, the spandau, the gap, the time, the discontinuity, and these are the secret of cosmos. Breathe in and breathe out has discontinuity. It is the source of creativity. It is the point of conscious evolution. This discontinuity is required to be extended. Breathing pattern is a source and origin of creativity built in us, and this needs to be exploited. Breath in the form of God is always with us, and there is no survival without breath. The individual consciousness to the cosmic consciousness is the Sandhya that links the soul to the Paramatma or Almighty. This Pandau, the function variation from relative to the absolute and vice versa from the absolute to relative, is the Sandhya that completes the triangle of soul and Paramatma. It gives the mystery of self-realization and emergence of soul with the supernal. To be aware of this Sandhya, this time gap, reveals the mystery of everything. But this comes by His grace, efforts and deep understanding. Sandhya links two infinite versions of life and death. Also, it links soul and Paramatma. To be in otherness from oneness through awareness is Sandhya. It is the mystery of the mysteries. From awareness stage to non-awareness stage of Samadhi is the Sandhya. From microcosm to macrocosm is through Sandhya. From awareness of time to the state of timelessness is through Sandhya. The Sandhya completes the triangle to otherness, and to be with it is the secret of all the creativities of the Almighty. One has to enter into this gap, and who enters is the conqueror of the universal or cosmic secrets. The state of Samadhi is the mergence of soul with the supernal through the Sandhya of timelessness, that is, shading of awareness. Without Spandau, the time gap, there is no Sandhya. Shiva is the creator of this Spandau. Shakti is the throbbing and time is the energy. So, by interaction of Shiva and Shakti in the Sandhya of time, energy is evolved. It means energy is created through time. In other words, energy, the light, is the time. In more subtle form, time can create Anu or molecule and Pramanu or atom. Thus time is light. Light or energy creates matter and vice versa. Matter can create energy. So, energy is Sandhya from the infinity. From time, all types of knowledge are created. It is Param Jyoti. It is Lalita Parmeshwari. Para Gayatri is absolute, and Apara Gayatri is matter. Breath is the linkage as time for human evolution. It has to be transcended with discontinuity to be creative in life. This is feasible only by suspending the breath with discontinuity. In short, time is the miracle of God. It is discontinuity. It is Spandau, Sandhya, light, energy, void and transformation to different matters. And this is the mystery of mysteries of cosmos, which can be perceived through Sandhya only. Furthermore, in between the two breaths, that is outgoing and the fresh breath, which is on the threshold to enter the human system, there exists discontinuity in which one remains without breath for a fraction of a second. This transient time interval of without breath between two consecutive breaths is the span of death. There is no breathing in this interval. One is not in Maya or illusion. In this interval, one is with the spirit or supernal unknowingly. If consciously one can understand and experience the mystery of the divine nature, one can unfold the secret of death, and one can be immensely creative. Each one of us is in the blossom of death about 21,600 times per day, the number of times one breathes. However, this duration is extremely small. But if it is integrated, considering that one breathes approximately 10 times a minute, taking 6 seconds for each breath with a gap or interval of 1 second between the two consecutive breaths, then it is not only difficult to assess that a person remains nearly 30 minutes without breath per day. In other words, 15 to 20 hours per month, about 8 to 10 days per annum, and in total lifespan of 80 years, about 800 days, that is approximately 3% of the lifespan, he is without breath. He is in void, that is discontinuity, and thus remains with the death, spirit, and supernal in totality. By meditation, by Shunyaka technique, and by consciously observing the breath, one can extend this period even up to a 10-15%, and can experience death in this span of life, and can be with the supernal by his efforts with the grace of Almighty. Mind becomes very silent if consciously this time interval is increased without any stress. It can even become the continuum experience to be with the Absolute. This helps to draw direct cosmic energy from the Absolute as and when it is needed by his physical system. Gradually, his system will be filled with divine light and divine energy. This is because of the vacuum created in the system by absence of breath, that is Maya or illusion, which is filled by divine cosmic energy. This increases the lifespan. However, the spiritual aspirant may not have any desire to prolong the life, since for him life is death and death is life. Both are same for him. He becomes Jivan Mukta, liberated soul by the grace of Almighty, just by increasing the time interval between two consecutive breaths. This is the basic mystery of mysteries and secret of life and death, as well as life beyond death. Thus, he can be with the source of light of the Absolute. He can step into being and to be beyond time and space. To be with the source light, that is with the supernal, is Sandhya. Sandhya is performed at the time of twilight, that is, when night is going to transform into daylight, and when day is going to step into night. This transmigration, the transit time interval, is termed as Sandhya, that is the twilight. The puja worship is carried out during this interval. In terms of yoga, it is the time interval between two consecutive breaths when used breath is on the way out from the body and fresh breath is awaited to enter. This breathless state of microsecond is the natural Sandhya. It is the interval of worship, that is puja. This is the span, time interval when life and death are closely knitted, and one is with the supernal. An advanced spiritual aspirant can do Sandhya with every breath and can be with the Absolute 21,600 times a day. He can draw all the time more and more energy from the cosmos. Thus, Sandhya becomes continuum with time for him. This may become even without awareness, and sadhaka or spiritual aspirant may experience the blessings of samadhi, being with the divine light and enjoying the nectar of divinity. So, Sandhya is not the ritual of worship as generally being performed, but it is the yogic mergence with the supernal by worshipping and extending the interval between the two consecutive breaths. This is from Sri Vidya, which is the mother of all the religions. This brings a spiritual aspirant to the stage of enlightenment, that is the source knowledge, and beyond this, no knowledge is required. This gives light to the soul by mergence with supernal, and this one is beyond time, space, and causation. One becomes silent and experiences complete silence within himself. He gets full glimpses of death being alive and is enlightened. In this transcendental state, mind, intellect, and consciousness disappear and merges with soul, and soul merges with the cosmic consciousness. This is the fundamental science of microcosm, and all others are only the applied sciences. Enlightenment brings the knowledge of fundamental science, that is, knowledge of secret of death, permanent or absolute silence, superconsciousness, elongation of lifespan, migration to the better world after death, and so on. Furthermore, astral body after death travels towards Vasuloka and then to Rudraloka. In Vasulok, astral body is given opportunity to shed vices, to improve, and if succeeded, then it is allowed to go to the Rudra Loka by the Master Spirit or Almighty. In the Loka, if astral body becomes pure and totally desireless, then as pure soul it is qualified to go to the Aditya Loka. Here the soul is liberated from the cycles of birth and death and merges with the supernal. Later, if required by Almighty, this pure soul is sent as an avatar or incarnation to Bhulok in this world. Thus, Jivatma gets salvation by the austerities and the blessings of the omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient energy source, that is, the Almighty. In addition, there are namely two margas, that is, ways for self-realization, namely Dhumraja Marga and Achi Raja Marga, that is, Aditya Marga. Dhumraj Marg is the ritualistic path, the path of earning punya and dharma, etc. It is the path of skama. Aditya Marga is the path of nishkama. It is the path of worship of life without any sankalpa, thoughts or desires. This is the supreme path expressed by Yama to Nichiketa, who disclosed him to the secrets of death. This is the direct path of mergence with supernal without any sankalpa. In this path, the breath is to be suspended and gap between breath needs to be extended. Then only brain chemical is formed beyond the biospiritual atoms, or from the cosmos energy brain cells are activated, and then only one recollects his path births, and this discloses the mystery of death, life beyond death, and continuation of life after life. Furthermore, with this, one enters in the timeless zone. He is beyond time and space. In this discontinuity of mergence with cosmic consciousness, he becomes whole. Here energy is trapped, which gives him long life, health, and happiness. Thus the whole universe becomes a miracle of breath for him, provided he has full command on breath. He lives in breath, and he becomes breath.